Today's review is going to cover D365 QC basics. We will provide a quick review of setups along with some transaction examples. My name is Jon Szemler. I'm a functional consultant at MCA Connect in Denver, Colorado. This session was conducted at AXUG in 2018 in Phoenix, and the syllabus is going to cover QC setup basics. We'll also manually generate a quality order off of a production order. Then we'll look at generating automatic blocking on a purchase order receipt along with the automatic generation of a quarantine order. We'll finish our discussion of QC basics with a discussion of nonconformance. So what are the basics in terms of setting up quality control in D365? It involves establishing a quarantine warehouse, applying an inventory parameter setting along with tests and test variables. But the important thing to remember is that if automated quality order generation is needed, you'll need to establish a quality association that is then applied against an item and or quality group. We'll cover those basic setups right now. So the first step is to establish that you'll be using quality management on the quality management, fast tab, and inventory management warehouse parameters. So I'm going to go to inventory management in D365, and I'm going to go to the inventory and warehouse management parameters form, and from there I'll go to quality management. You'll click on this checkbox, use quality management to yes, and the hourly rate is associated with nonconformances, which we'll cover later in our discussion. From there, you're looking at establishing a quarantine warehouse if appropriate, and then for automated generation against a part, you'll apply the warehouse management quarantine management parameter on the item model group, thereby associating the item model group with the part. Otherwise, you can still generate manual quality orders against a part, as well as automated blocking, which we'll cover here that setup we'll cover here in a second. So test instruments for quality orders are an optional setup. Where do you find that? You come to the inventory management module, and you'll notice that there are a couple categories here under setup for quality. And the first is the quality control section and the quality management section. The quality control section is related primarily to quality orders and quarantine orders, with the quality management section associated with nonconformances. So if we look at test instruments, we can see the form here. And if appropriate, you'll be establishing a test instrument that the individual who's performing the test will need to use. The tests also the kinds of tests that are going to be used then are established on the tests form. Let's take a look at that here in the inventory management module. So there are three primary kinds of tests. We're going to be using an impedance measurement test that is based on a type option, which is a pass-fail option. The other two setup alternatives are for integers or fractions, with an integer typically representing a whole number. So if we look at the type of pass or fail parameters that exist under impedance measurement, we need to then take a look at test variables. So back to the inventory management module and to test variables. And if we look at impedance and outcomes under impedance, You can see here that I've set up a pass, meaning that the test has been accepted, and 2 additional parameters, meaning that the test showed that the product was too big, and in the other instance too small. And those represent the fail parameters for that test. Item sampling can also be established against the product for production order, sales order, or purchase order. In this instance, I've established item sampling at 100%. And now this next section is where you would apply the parameters that are associated with blocking, if applicable, automatic blocking for that product. So typically for a quality order, and we'll look at this in an actual transaction example here in a minute, but typically with a quality order, you're going to be looking to block perhaps the increment of a quantity for a production order into inventory, or the receipt of a purchase order quantity into inventory. We'll look at 2 transaction examples related to that. And in addition, importantly, if you're going to automatically generate a quality order against a part, you'll apply that here at the top against, you'll apply that by associating the part here at the top with the quality association, either for the part itself, which is the table definition, or for a quality group. So a quality group would then be applied to a group of parts, and that is done here using the quality group and item quality group forms. So let's go back to D365 and inventory management, and here we'll look at the quality groups. The simple setup here, you just apply or create your quality group name, and then from there you would assign under item quality groups the parts that are associated with the group itself. Then that group is associated to the quality association, and that will subsequently generate an automatic quality order when you apply a transaction against that part. Test groups are the next important setup category, and there are two primary areas to look at when looking at test groups. The test groups themselves are established in the upper portion of the form, and then when selected, the tests that are performed are listed below. So in this instance, the test group that I've established is for impedance. I'm going to say I'm going to sample at 1 piece. You can also apply batch attributes to that as well. We're not covering that in this discussion. With the lower panel establishing the parameters that you're going to be using for the tests themselves. And for the transaction examples that we're going to be looking at, we're going to be using a test called impedance that, as mentioned previously, is going to be generating a pass-fail parameter against the product. So now let's look at generating a quality order manually. So our subsequent discussion of QC basics is going to cover the manual generation of a quality order, in this instance against a production order, and then after that we'll look at the automatic generation of a quality order against a purchase order. So if I go to D365, I've already created a production order for my example part, which is called YBOM01. You can see that here at the top. The production order is 255, and the product has been reported as finished. So I'm not generating an automatic quality order here, but as I've processed the part, perhaps I'm the individual out on the line, I've noticed that there's something wrong potentially with the product. So here in this instance, I'm going to go to the View tab. I'll generate a quality order manually from the Manage Quality section on the Action tab. I'll click New, and the system will automatically associate the production order with will automatically associate the production order with the quality order. I'll put in a quantity of 1 for that quality order here. I'll click OK, and now the quality order is generated. For this example, I'm going to pass my review, my check, I'm going to pass the product, meaning that I've reviewed it, I've tested it, and now I've approved it for subsequent increment into inventory, and the subsequent example will fail the quality order. So I need to fill in the test group. I'll do that now. I'll regenerate a new order here. So I'm going to click New, and I'll click my test group, which I failed to do previously. Here I'll select impedance along with a quantity of 1. I'll click OK, and I'll save it. Now at the bottom, I'm given my test. So here I'll go to the results button, and I'll put in my resultant quantity for the test. I'll accept the default of accepted, and that means it's passed. I'll save it, close it, and now the product has been approved now for subsequent increment. I'll validate it as a final step. That's on the top of the form, and I'll click OK. And now my product has been approved and incremented into inventory. So an associated process that takes place in conjunction with the quality order is a reservation against the part. So when I created the quality order, a quantity of 1 was reserved, so the product could not be used. And subsequent to after I approved the quality order, that product was released from reservation and now is available to be used in subsequent transactions. And we'll take a look at the actual inventory reservation changes that are associated with quality orders in our next example. And that example is going to be the automatic generation of a quality order against a purchase order. So in this instance, I'm going to fail the order as well and scrap some of the received product that is associated with the purchase order. So here I'm going to go to accounts payable and all purchase orders. And for this example, I'll create a purchase order for a product called Y purchased 01. I'll select the vendor. And I'll apply the warehouse just to make it easier for processing the transaction. I'm going to click OK. All right, so my part is Y purchased 01. And I'm going to save. And I'll confirm my purchase order. All right, before we receive the product, let's take a look at the inventory. So I'll click on Y purchased 01, the quick link here, and we'll go over to released products to take a look at the current status for this product in inventory. Right now I'm in released products. I'm going to go to the Manage Inventory Action tab, on-hand inventory under View. And you'll notice that in equal to 1, this will be increased to 2 after inventory blocking is applied to the product on its receipt. So I'll close this form. We'll come back here to look at the change on inventory status. And I'm going to receive. So now I'm going to receive the product under product receipt. I'll put in the receipt number. I'll click OK. Now I have automatic blocking set up on this part number. So the quality order was automatically generated. I received a critical stop notification that the receipt was prevented. And here the notice tells me that the update has been blocked because the item is in inspection, which is, and I want to review all products that are received prior to releasing them to inventory. So here I will go to under the Receive Action tab, I'm going to go to Quality Orders. And here are the quality orders automatically generated. Let's take a look now at inventory for this product prior to processing it. So here I'll select the inventory drop down from quality orders, and I'll click the on hand section, and now we can see that ordered reserved has been incremented from 1 to 2 pieces. So this product is being prevented from being released into inventory. In this instance, I'm going to fail this product. So I'll click on the results tab. I'll say the resulting quantity is 1, and I will fail it. Save that, close this form, and validate. Now on the validate step is where I generate my automatic quarantine order. So I'm going to click validate here at the top like I did before. And in this instance, I'm going to say that I'm going to quarantine upon validation failure. I'll click OK. All right, so the quality order has been completed with a failure. And now I need to subsequently apply disposition to my part for either an approval and a release into inventory or a scrap of this particular quantity. For this example, we'll scrap the amount that was received, in this instance 1 piece. So I'm going to go to inventory management. And under quality management, under periodic tasks, I'll click quarantine orders. And the last order in the list shows started for Y purchased 01. If I open the quarantine order and I go to reference, you can see that here's the purchase order that the quarantine order is associated with. And in this instance, I can either split the order or I can scrap it. You can scrap a partial quantity as well and then receive in the balance. In this example, though, we'll say that the product is not acceptable, and we're going to scrap 1 piece, thereby removing it from inventory. All right, so that operation has been completed. So that's the basics in terms of quality management. And the good news is it doesn't require a lot of setup. The quality association, if you want to, enables the automatic generation of the quality order if needed. It'll establish a block against that product prior to its receipt into inventory or its subsequent scrapping of the product. So the relationship of quality order to quarantine order is an easy one to establish and does not require a lot of setup, meaning that you should be able to use it in a short order against a limited set of products, or a wider range if you're going to use an item model group with the quarantine management designation against it. So as a final review of quality control basics, we're going to take a look at nonconformances. So here I'll go to inventory management again. I'm going to open the nonconformances form. And nonconformances are typically used in instances where you have an atypical quality test to perform. So something that doesn't fall under your existing tests listing. And there are a couple extra features that are available in nonconformances, which we'll cover here. I'll click the new button. I'll create a nonconformance against YBOM01. I'll apply my worker name to the order. I'll say the problem type is impedance once again. I'll say the defective quantity is 1 in warehouse 11. And this is the Contoso environment, by the way, for D365. I'll click OK. And now what happens is I'll either say that the nonconformance is refused, or I'll approve the nonconformance. And that means that I'm going to perhaps rework the product. So I'll say yes. And you'll notice up here on the left, related operations and corrections are now enabled. So what are these two categories? Related operations are additional operations that you might apply for rework perhaps. And this is where, per our initial setup discussion regarding the cost that's related to rework, that's associated with this step. So here I might apply an additional operation to the product regarding the rework that I'm performing, and I can list that and then track that here. Also, you can apply additional corrections, atypical corrections that are not currently listed in the quality associations that you've established for that product, with diagnostics and additional information regarding the work that's performed in order to subsequently approve this product for its release into inventory. So those are the basics regarding quality management in D365. The good news is it's easy to set up, and that it enables inventory blocking in an efficient manner, thereby allowing you a greater level of control over how your parts move in and out of inventory. So as a recap, you'll use quality orders typically for a pass or a fail against your check of the product's suitability for release onto your factory floor. You'll use a quarantine order in association with the quality order if you need to scrap the product, and nonconformances are used for atypical quality assessments. So thanks for listening. My name once again is Jon Szemler. I'm with MCA Connect, and if you'd like, check us out on mcaconnect.com for further information.